It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another Sam Lesante Show, folks. What we're trying to do is trying to educate our people, particularly when it comes to, Sam's at it again. It's called pro-life. Now, I want to make this perfectly clear. Since 1994, when I started doing the Sam Lesante shows, I've invited Planned Parenthood to be on the show. Never get a response, all right? So just so you know, I've always done that. I am pro-life 100%, period. However, I do want other people to share their viewpoint. Over 60 million babies have lost their lives through abortion. And it's interesting how the Democrat Party feels that abortion is okay. In fact, they are campaigning on that, killing unborn babies. Let me give you a quote from somebody. And for those Catholics, here's a quote from somebody. When asked about abortion, the person responded, "Abortion is murder." That's not coming from Sam Lesante. It's not coming from anyone. It's coming from the Pope. Pope Francis said abortion is murder. Now what they're trying to do is trying to camouflage it and saying it's women's reproductive rights. And when you start saying that, women start getting upset. And so they're trying to camouflage that. I don't know if you watched the show. You should have watched. Please watch the show I did with Dr. John Prochalski. He wrote the book, Two Patients. It's interesting, and it's reality. Another person who is here today, she was on the show before, 96 years old, Betty Caffrey and Mary Stchur, who wrote the book, Never Alone. Betty and Mary, so nice to see you.
Thank you.
So what's your success in being 96 years old and still as spunky as ever?
Prayer and vitamins.
Well, that's good. Well, I do both of them. It's just amazing, how dedicated you become, Mary. Betty, why have you, over the years, what was the very first thing that opened your mind about pro-life?
All I can remember as a child, probably 8, 9 years old, in our neighborhood, there was a woman who had a grocery store. And I used to hear people buzzing about her, and it was always the word abortion. I had no idea what it was. And as time went on, I got more and more interested to find out what is an abortion. And then I attended, it was a pro-life group, and the girl said, the one that was giving the talk says, it's abortion is murder. And then I kept thinking, now wait a minute, this is a human being, regardless of what the circumstances are. And I started to attend meetings. And little by little, I still to this day cannot understand, like you said, why are we even discussing this now? And I remember as a child, I told you, as that woman that was in our neighborhood, and it was always the word whisper. You don't say it out loud and stuff. And now, look at this campaign that they're having. They're flaunting it as though it was some great gift. But it's still the murder of an unborn child. I have 3 children. I have 3 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And I can't think for a minute if their mother would have decided not to give them birth. And I think people don't stop to realize what is an abortion. Abortion right now is just a word, a choice, whatever. But years ago, they were in our area, Planned Parenthood. There was a very lovely lady who was the head of it, Shaw Murphy. And when the abortion issue came to the forefront, she had an open forum out at Lee Kleeman, Penn State Extension. And we went out, and on the board, when at that time it was a blackboard, she wrote, abortion, the intentional interruption of a process, if was left to continue, would most likely result in the birth of a baby. Now that was Planned Parenthood's her definition of abortion. And I memorized it because I thought it was so unique. What else would she have other than a baby? And so little by little, as I kept working and saying, I always say to myself, somebody has to care. And evidently God guided me. And through these years, I've been pushing ahead. And even right now, I go down the center. We have pro-life center every day. And I always say God has a plan for me. But through this and through the book and with Mary's help, we are able to bring so many more people to stand up and say, enough is enough. All these babies have died. And just because somebody didn't want them, this is where our society is now. And I feel we haven't done enough. And this election, I don't have to tell you, is the most important of my whole life. If we lose this one, the babies don't have a chance. And so when they keep saying abortion, and the woman's right to choose, and it's her body, and all I say, the first thing somebody says, well, it's her body, she can do what she wants with it. No. I always say, she could be carrying a boy. You can't be two genders. It has a different blood test, the blood type. Everything else about it, it's unique, it's individual, it's within her, but it's not her body. And now society is trying to say, well, she could do what she wants with that baby. And so if you watch closely lately, all of our educational material that we've been putting as paid ads in the paper, we're focusing now on the hidden agenda, the baby. They never mention the baby. All of these things they're saying, oh, freedom of choice and all that, you never see where they mention the baby. So now we're hitting on the development of that baby when it's aborted. And now, I'm sorry to say, Walsh is in his state of Minnesota, 1 abortions right up to birth, and they're legal. And so when people wake up, these are babies. And so we hope through our educational material that we've been putting out now that people say, well, I can't vote for somebody who would want an abortion, who want the killing of a baby. And so we're in sad times, but we have to get right now the good people. We always say we have those are for, those are against. There's those middle people who still haven't decided because they hear what the media tells them. And the media is pro-abortion. In the beginning, it was pro-abortion, anti-abortion. And the pro-abortion people wanted to get away from the word abortion, and then they went to pro-choice. And we were foolish, and we went to pro-life, which is too vast of an issue. We should have stayed pro-abortion or anti-abortion, and that's where we're now. But it's very, very difficult, and I'm sorry to say the pro-abortion people have more funding than the pro-life people because, again, we're the grassroots level, and we do what we can do. We always depend on people who feel about life like we do and donate. But I am very happy to say we're now in our 37th year with our pro-life center. We've never paid a salary. We've had people that were well-trained professional people give their time, even doctors, nurses, And so if we had to pay salaries, we could never make it. But we are there 5 days a week, and we don't turn away anyone to meet their needs. And in the beginning, we had one woman with us, and she even used to go in if a girl was having a baby and didn't have anybody to go with her, she would be the coach. And she did that for years. So we try to meet the needs of those that are pregnant, unplanned, or whatever, but they can say always, we cared, we were there, and now all these crisis pregnancy centers, they're there for the people who need it. And I'm very happy to say that our center has been existed all these years, and we're going to continue.
Mary, you wrote the book with the help of Betty, okay? So how did you become involved in writing? The book is Never Alone, my friends, and where can you get this book?
It's still at Barnes & Noble on the shelf in Wilkes-Barre, the Heaven and Earth bookshop in Scranton. They can email me, but I am also working to get it online soon.
Okay, Never Alone. So how did you get involved to write this book and work with Betty?
Well, I've known Betty for years. I'm the mother of 7 children, and I knew that she had opened up a location. The first time was on South Main Street in Wilkes-Barre, and I lived in Wilkes-Barre. And my daughters, I have 5 daughters and 2 sons, and my daughters were preteens then, and our church had the sodality go down and visit the center. And I gave my permission because I said it's important for them to know all about life. And that's when I first met Betty. And then, of course, raising my children, and then I got back to teaching. And I didn't really, I would just make contributions, and you know, when the ads were in, I would do what I can and continue to pray. And then I retired, and I had more time, and I realized that with involvement with my church now, and we made donations to the Pro-Life Center, and when I saw Betty again after all these years, and as soon as you meet Betty too, it's like you've always known her. She always sends personal thank you notes, and she starts with a story about something. And one of the ladies, the volunteers, said, I wish somebody would write her story. And I thought about that, and I thought this is a legacy that needs to be remembered. So that day I said to her, Betty, could I write your story? And she took a second and said yes. So we conducted interviews, and I learned all about her, and she's amazing. And I feel that, of course, the title says everything. It's Never Alone. She's guided by the Holy Spirit. There's no question about it. And I have to say, I felt I was guided as I was writing this book. There was a lot in there to get for this woman who's 37 years of helping pregnant women.
We opened the show about education, okay, and I think, you know, anyone who is pregnant, okay, we have to have compassion for. They're going through, you know, they expect it, particularly young women, maybe 16, 17, 18, and they don't know what direction, okay, and of course, what you try to do is educate them. And now the campaign, as you said, which is disgusting to me, they're throwing up, don't let them take your reproductive rights away from you. How that throws into killing an unborn baby, it's just, so what it is a campaign to scare women, okay, and no matter if you're for or against. I mean, I know some people who never have an abortion, but look, they're not going to tell me to do my reproductive rights, okay, and they have that agenda that they have, okay. How do you combat that? I know what Betty just said, but you know, being a mother of 7, being an educator, you know, and you're seeing it, how do you combat that?
Well, it's interesting because it's a manipulation of the language. I would like to think that women are intelligent enough to see through it, but it has been a barrage of this camouflage, is the word too, yes, of what this is about. When you throw out the word right, I mean, we are Americans, that's what we say. We have a right to do this. Unfortunately, they're forgetting the other part. It's a responsibility. And the responsibility is to that life that you created. And in doing research for this book, and of course just knowing it, I mean, you go back scientifically, we all started as a cluster of cells. That's how human beings begin. And the development is into a separate body. And on Sunday, I was down with Dr. Brushalski, and in his book, as he mentions, the woman's body is separate. I mean, they say abortion is to abort the baby. He said, basically, the woman doesn't suffer as much as that unborn child. And they're now calling it preborn because this idea of fetus makes it sound a little less than human. But he was saying, it's murder for that baby, and it is a baby when you're ripping arms and legs and the heart is there and everything else. And he's a converted abortionist. He's seen it all. And so I'm praying that women are intelligent enough, even though it might be a desperate time in their life, to take a moment to think about actually what's going on, because the pressure around women these days is a lot. And when you hear that men think that abortion is a good thing, I mean, you really have to pause when you think about that statement.
Looking at, being a Christian and having a belief, particularly being a Catholic, okay, how can Catholic politicians like Casey and Cartwright promote their ads saying, we're going to, I'm for the abortion, etc. If you have any kind of morality, I mean, if you have any sense of morality, okay? Now, maybe it's me, I'm a sinner, there's no question about it, but the point is, when you feel that you know what an abortion is, they're pulling little arms, they're crushing heads, beating hearts, like the doctor said, when he gave that one shot that he actually heard the baby, cry, okay? I mean, don't you have any sense of morality? I mean...
Well, I think the part of it is that appeal to satisfy everyone in your constituents. And I have to say, as a Christian too, and even in the churches, we need people to take a stronger stance on this is morally wrong. But when you try to appeal to keeping everybody happy in what they want to do, you playing what they say, the cafeteria Catholics. I only pick and choose what I want to obey, and that's against it. But the state of the world, the state of our country, I certainly think indicates what the lack of the soul of America and the world is, as Saint Mother Teresa said. Any nation that allows abortion does not have a soul anymore. And we are desperate and high with anxiety for this election because a lot is at stake, more than just political people looking for more votes. It's the soul of our nation.
What's more important in life? You'll see people that'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on medicine to preserve a life, and they'll do everything to preserve a life, raise money, etc. But when it comes to a human life, like an unborn baby, they'll kill them like that. Folks, I'm talking to Mary Stchur, who wrote the book Never Alone, along with, it's Betty Caffrey's story. Remember, I've invited Planned Parenthood to come on the show. They don't want to come on the show. I don't know why. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Trying to educate as much as we can. We're talking to a lady who is 96 years old. Her story is in the book Never Alone, written by Mary Stchur. And every life is worth living. We're talking about pro-life. And we're talking about saving these unborn babies. Betty, we looked at people when they're pregnant. They go through so many different stages and they're concerned, etc. But we have a lot of help for them, correct? Tell us about what a person, if she's pregnant, instead of killing that unborn baby, what do we have available for those?
Well, locally, our pro-life center, we have an educational room, all life issues, abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. And they can borrow books, tapes, CDs, whatever, no cost, and to educate themselves. Then we have clothing. We try to help them. But when they come in and they're upset because they're pregnant, we look to see what's the basic problem. And most times it's the father of the baby doesn't want the baby. And so you kind of work around that to see that if she carries through and has the baby, she'll get all the help that she needs, whether it's the medical help or financial help, whatever. Now, our pro-life center, the one thing we never give money because we're always afraid they'll use it for drugs. But we will stand with them, and they have to know that they're not alone, because once the father of the baby walks off, then they're looking for a friend. We will be that friend. We will follow them through, and we will, well, services we don't offer, we're a referral agency. We will send them to the other agents to get the help that they need. And there is plenty of help, even not only with us, but the other organizations too. And one of the, one organization we have now in town, it's where the doctors and medical profession offer their services free. And that's located, I think, on Pennsylvania Boulevard. And if the girl wants to go carry the pregnancy through, we will guide her there and see that she gets the help. I would like to say one thing. All these years, I have never had one girl or one mother come back and say she was sorry she had the baby. They come back and they say, thank God we didn't go the wrong way.
Mary, you've been around a while. Getting back to the terrible state this country is in, I don't have to tell you what it is. We're living it every day, so I'm not going to lecture anybody. And you have the lack of faith, and you have the lack of morality, and everyone's concerned about, you know, just not thinking about what's important in life. Supporting people who are going to say we're having abortions. Walsh, as you said, in Minnesota, up to the, even after the birth, killing a baby. I mean, could you imagine this? I mean, what goes through your mind as an educator, a mother of 7, and when you see, I mean, here, without lecturing to the women and, you know, pointing at, I mean, what makes a person think, supporting a person who you know is going to continue that, killing an unborn baby, on top of other things, this world is in a disaster.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with people who are looking for love. And the essence of love, as Mother Teresa always says, it hurts. And I think a lot of women and a lot of people, I'm looking to be happy. You can't be happy if you don't have a spiritual side. You can look at all the articles about what it takes to be happy, and a lot of it, first thing is to believe in a higher power. We were created not just for ourselves, we're created in a society, and these women, as Dr. Brochalski had said in his book as well, when you listen to a story of a woman that's on the verge of thinking about an abortion, you don't know what her whole story is, that she hasn't been loved. What is she looking for? Why can't she find it? And then today, which makes it worse, is that we have chemical abortions now. They don't have to go through the kind of operation aspect of it, but that is even worse, because these women now can do this at home with 2 pills and see the baby that comes out of them that they're going to flush down the toilet perhaps. And what has happened is they're dealing with a lot of mental illness after abortion that we're not.
They won't tell you that.
No, and
they won't
not.
tell you that thousands upon thousands of women, okay, when they're young and that have suffered nervous breakdowns, mental disorders, etc., knowing that they killed their own little baby. Okay, they won't tell you that.
No, and that's the thing. And you know, this election it's turning out to be almost belief in God or not belief in God, and separation of church and state. But you can't separate from God and be happy.
Folks, now this show will be seen before election and also after election, so I'd like to just educate as much as we can. You know, I have people don't talk to me because I'm pro-life, okay? Even in our own church. And you know, I'm Catholic, I go to Mass every week, and some of them won't talk to me or ignore me because I'm for saving, but they're in church, see, and they pray, and then they leave saying it's okay that, you know, they'll have signs out with people who know are killing babies, okay? That drives me crazy. You must have seen so many changes being 96 years old, you know, that is just amazing. You know, that's why God still has you here, because your job's not done yet. I want to thank you, Betty, for coming on the show. I want to thank you for what you're doing. We pray for you every day.
I never had any regrets.
And I know you haven't. And Mary, it's always nice to see you. And
Thank you.
Thanks for writing the book. It's called Never Alone, my friends. Barnes & Noble. It's an interesting book. Life is very precious. I would only hope that for those of you who feel abortion is good, pray. And those of you who had abortions, we're there to help you. There's a lot of help out there. And those who are consider abortions, please think twice. There's so many people that want babies in this country. Your child will grow up with great people. We'll see you next time.